Welcome back, venturers. I am Mar, and today with Taurus we're going to recap Anime Expo that happened last week. But to do that properly, we've recruited help of the one and the only, the weird waifu lover himself, Ange the reporter. Welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah, it's always good to be on this podcast. Yeah, just as a quick plug, if you want to watch the Anime Expo streams, on my channel I had one for the Manga Gamer and Jast panels. Thanks to the editor, or thanks to my editor, the local weeb, he went there. So yeah, but yeah, regardless, yeah, it's good to be back. Always fun to talk about Anime Expo announcements because those are usually exciting to talk about.
Yes, thank you again so much for helping put on streams for some of the panels that happened. And we can talk about some of those publishing panels now. I think we could start with, let's see, Manga Gamer. Manga Gamer had a few interesting releases they announced. The biggest one probably being Rose Gun's Days. That one, I just found out it was somewhat episodic from back in 2012, 2014. And it's an interesting title about post-World War II Japan in a somewhat action suspense thriller. I remember there were a lot of people talking about it way back in the day, in the earlier days of visual novels, but I had never checked it out. But with an official release coming at some point in the future, that might change.
And those announcements always makes me wonder how long? Because obviously they want to announce what license they got, what they're working in. But given the history of the translation and the entire process, will it be until the next Anime Expo or the one after that?
Yeah, given these days, if a company does not give even a year, like a vague year release date, I just assume it's at minimum going to be a year or two from when they officially announced it. And yeah, with Rose Gun's Day specifically, I would, especially since like Taro said, I think there's 3 episodes or something. I would not be surprised if it took at least a couple years because altogether it's apparently a pretty long game, like 45 hours. I mean, there's no answer arcs equivalent, thank God, but even that's still pretty long for a Ryukishi game.
I forgot to mention this is a Ryukishi game, and it's in a very different tone from something like Higurashi or Umineko, and so it's always been underrated, I believe, from my point of view, where I hardly ever see anyone talking about it, but whenever I do, it's always a lot of praise for the story and the unique atmosphere.
Yeah, I have not tried it myself yet. I was kind of hoping when they announced that there'd be some kind of like update for them to include voice acting, because generally the way Ryukishi does his titles like Higurashi, Umineko, and the barely released Kikonia, it's always unvoiced and always has his goofy sprites, and Rose Gun's Days is no except. Well, Rose Gun's Days has better sprites, I will say. They're actually not too bad. It's just, but he still has no voice acting and has a no voice acting, and I don't think the only thing they announced for the Anime Expo specifically is it's going to be HD upscale and it's going to be on Steam and Manga Gamer. But that's all I know. It's going to be upgraded, but might check it out. Not unsure, but yeah, like Toro said, I've seen a lot of Ryukishi fans say it's pretty good. The ones who actually read it, just obviously nowhere near as popular as Higurashi or Umineko in the West.
So a title being unvoiced in 2024 and on is still a hard sell, especially for something that's considered a bigger release, not just something indie, Then again, you've still got stuff like Umineko is still unvoiced, right?
Officially, yes. The only way you could actually with both Higurashi and Umineko, the only way you could get them voiced is through a fan patch. There was that supposed Umineko Gold Kickstarter a long time ago that wasn't even going to be Manga Gamer, but then something happened and the that voice acting Kickstarter never really happened. But yeah, as of now, the only way to read Higurashi and Umineko voiced is through a fan patch.
Yeah, but what do you mean officially? But that would imply there exists a version that has been done professional with voice acting. So I suppose what isn't available is distribution for PC, right?
Yeah, both the Higurashi and Umineko got voice acting through a PS3 port in Japan by Alchemist.
Okay.
Yeah, Umineko was by Alchemist. For Higurashi, I don't remember.
I didn't know that. I just assumed based on what was happening with Fate versions all over the place, right? That it may be similar situation.
But apparently that's not going to be happening with Rose Guns Days.
Sadly, not to my knowledge. Like, if Rose Guns Days never got a console port, as far as I know, so it's probably never gonna get voice acting. But I could always hope, but I just don't think it will at this moment at least.
Another title Manga Gamer announced was the translation for The Alchemist and His Battle-Scarred Homunculus, which seems like a pretty easygoing, one of those comforting, healing VNs. It takes place in a fantasy world involving creating a homunculus that could live outside a flask used by the government as a dangerous super weapon. And many years later, the MC finds a woman in a sack disposed outdoors, and that's what leads to the rest of the plot. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw this description, the first thing I thought of was MR's journey into Made for Loving You.
Damn it. I wondered, how are you going to tie one with the other? Oh, this is how you chose. Oh, God.
Are you gonna check it out, MR? You looking forward to it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
I realize this also
Maybe.
kind of sounds a little similar to Qualia. So I guess we are unfortunately in the same boat, MR.
Yeah, apparently now we have our fate decided by us, and we just have to support it now. Yeah.
And you too, Ange?
Undecided. So the developer Waffle, they made things like Funback Fantasy and Eden's Ritter, which are both Nuki gays, but apparently Funback Fantasy has a plot. And so I don't know if they're going to apply that to this homunculus game, but yeah, as of now, I'm unsure, but at least the alchemist homunculi waifu thing seems kind of sort of interesting, but as of now, I'm undecided.
For me, at the very least, it's a comforting one-off. Whereas I worry with those. What was they called again? Ange, what you just said?
Nuki gay?
The fantasy.
Oh, Funback Fantasy, yeah.
Oh yeah, that is a long-standing series. So yeah, I really don't like dropping series, and I really don't want to get dragged into something like that that doesn't end.
I hear.
At least on this kind of one-off, I can read it, laugh at its silliness, and be done. Bye.
So even for something like Funback Fantasy, just knowing it has sequels, you'd push yourself into reading all of those later ones for the full world building and story?
Listen. Okay?
Listen. Oh, man.
I hope not, but I know myself. There would be something compelling me to... Oh, wait, maybe it gets good at the third entry. I'm like, no, brain, please.
Because I've heard the same thing about Funback Fantasy, where it is a Nukige, obviously, but it still does have a pretty decent story and raises some interesting questions for the main character and whatnot. Like, there's some drama involved.
Yeah, the only issue with Funback Fantasy is Manga Gamer, for some reason, has not gotten to translating the third game. They've gotten the second game into the second game's fan discs, but not the... Oh no, more like half. Yeah, but they haven't gone to the third game yet for some reason. So you'd be locked if you were to start now anyway.
Curses. We'll have to wait another few years. And lastly, Manga Gamer also announced Steam Prison Beyond the Steam is now in development, a fan disc to an otome game. I'm glad the otome scene is still going strong. Nowadays, it feels like the Switch is particularly a home for all sorts of otome titles. It used to be the Vita, and now it's moved on. It's always funny seeing the consoles and which ones of them become homes to certain brands of VNs and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not
You're
sure.
correct that there's not that many otome titles being released. And if I remember correctly, this one is from the same developer that did that Beyond the Clock thing, also on Manga Gamer. I feel like I've seen that art style before.
Let's. I'm just quickly checking it. Yeah, it was developed by Hunac. Yeah, they did Love Songs. Oh man, they did a lot more than I thought. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to go through. Anyway, I believe you.
Okay, because I felt like I've seen that art style before, and that also was released by Manga Gamer. So, since you're so willing to give us your thoughts on the title, Ange, I'll leave you to it, and now I'll check it. If that's the
Sure.
correct
I
one.
mean, I am very much like I've tried a few otome back when I was like kind of starting out, but I've not since gotten to it. But I am, to kind of comment on the Switch thing. Like, so I don't know why. For some reason, I guess maybe since the Switch is like Vita and Switch are popular ways to enjoy games handheld. For some reason, visual novels in particular, Japan and games the handhelds are popular. So I guess that's why they're continuing the otome stuff on Switch, which does include Steam Prison, this fan disc, but this is one of the few that is going to get a PC release, probably because it's by Manga Gamer. But yeah, it is kind of interesting to know that this is one of the few otome Manga Gamer does actually do, and I don't know. One thing that's kind of notable about this is it's actually going to be a international release. So it's this fan disc Beyond the Steam's not even in Japan yet. So it's going to be released in the West and in Japan at the exact same time. So that's kind of a neat thing to see for the otome crowd.
Simultaneous releases, nice.
That rarely happens. That's true.
It happens more often nowadays, but still. That's not a guaranteed, and so it's always fortunate when we get to have that on the Western side of things. Manga Gamer had a question and answer panel, right, Emor?
Oh yeah, I was going to get into that. Just to finish those titles that were related to each other, the developer did a lot, that's true. You weren't kidding. There's a lot of those titles. Oh man, but the one I had in mind was related to Sonyanul, probably. I feel like that was also recently by them done. Now, for the Manga Gamer panel, because all those announcements that we just went over are on their panel. It was quite self-indulgent in a way, because the first half they talked about the last couple of years of their titles that they already have, after which there was announcement and then Q&A. Okay, and maybe because they are kind of pioneers, they were probably the first online platform that sell VNs. To this day, they have a lot of backlog and currently a lot of projects. So I understand they have a lot of things going on. But with that being said, the majority of the questions boil down to when insert name of title.
It was a Q&A panel with all sorts of interesting avenues. You could direct your questions to the official staff. And it was a lot of Wins Rants 10.
Yeah, there was When's Run 10, When's Run 3, When's Merge, When Physical. Like, okay, I get it. There's a lot of going on. Hopefully they can deliver. Although I have to give them credit, they got one very cool question about manga gamers' openness to selling their titles on other storefronts. And by other storefront, they didn't mean Steam. They meant the person asking the question specifically, would they be willing to sell on just USA? And that was quite a direct kind of question. And I have to give them credit that they took it on and said straight off, like, okay, we cannot just start releasing everything on our direct competitor. Fair enough. And when answering that question, they also pointed out that a lot of their titles are available on GOG, and probably is the most neutral platform from that standpoint.
Manga Gamer has their own official storefront that they sell their own, products on, of course. It's really not the best. Their website is so outdated. Exactly. It used to be a thing where I would notice several times throughout the years, back on, the visual novels Reddit, where people would be asking, hey guys, I want to buy this VN. Is this site legit? And they'd post a screenshot of Manga Gamer. And everyone would have to reassure them. It's like, yes, that's Manga Gamer. They've been doing this a long time. They're secure and all that. They just look like they're straight from the 90s.
But to be absolutely honest, because I bought a ton from them, it is functional. I give them credit. I never had any real issue with that. It just looks shady at places, okay? Like, it's
exactly.
all design.
Exactly. You gotta wonder if that has a part to play in trying to market yourself, trying to, advertise your products.
Yeah,
if it scares off customers, yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't heard the best things about sales on Manga Gamer specifically. I mean, I've bought my fair share of stuff on there, usually stuff that's just limited to that store, like a bunch of the older overdrives. But yeah, I agree with Toros. The UI is not great. Like, literally every single other Aerogate specific store has been updating their UI to be with kind of more up to modern times. Manga Gamer's been firmly stuck with their early 2000s web design, and they don't seem... It's like they're going to prioritize changing it, and unfortunately, that kind of means I've kind of dropped off of buying stuff from them. But I mean, if people still like them, they can still buy from them. They're still releasing stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, April.
I'm honestly, whenever I have a choice of different platform, I choose another one. I'll be frank. Although, couple years back when Denpasoft had their own redesign, that looked really nicely and was completely unfunctional. So at that point, I prefer Manga Gamer.
It works. You can't argue that. Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't credit. It kind of works to this day. Yeah, no hiccups. Yeah, it works. Denpasoft a couple years back made an overhaul, and it didn't. I had so many open tickets to support. It's crazy to Denpa. Oh my god.
Speaking of...
To this day, I have a couple titles duplicated.
Oh dear. Okay. Speaking of Denpasoft and Sekai Project, they were also advertising some new titles that they're translating and bringing over. One of which was Amairo Chocolata 3. Translating that from the 2023. I saw this announcement and then I remembered, hey, wait a second, didn't they advertise Amairo Chocolata 2 last year? And I double checked and yeah, they did. So that was my main takeaway from the message.
Yeah, I think Sekai Project in general has been, at least from what I've watched, they've been much more into the Animal Girl thing, like ever since like the 2020s started. I don't know if that's because of like that's all they've been able to get, or if that's like they it's an active choice to try to advertise it more, since they're kind of the Nekopara translator team. I don't know if that's, but it seems like they're kind of like almost half their titles now are okay. We're gonna get a sequel to this Animal Girl thing, or you get a new one. I don't know, but that's my takeaway as well. I'm not super interested, but I'm also not much of a Animal Girl fanatic to begin with. So
It seems that way, like they capitalize on the Necopara, like the ends, and grabbing all of those.
Here's the main character in a sudden world of cat girls running a cafe, and enjoy your slice of life and character focus. It does obviously have the similarities to Necopara, and like Ange said, you gotta wonder if they're cashing in, or if it's successful there for them, or they're just doing what they do best. Who knows? It's not exactly my cup of tea, but considering they're announcing the third in the illustrious trilogy, then obviously it has its fans who are making it successful, so that's great.
Listen, as a Necopara fan, if it works, it works, okay? Although, with that title in particular, the first time I added it to my backlog is back in the day. I think they were available on Steam, but they were one of those rare instances that said no English translation. Okay, so now we wait. Then they got the translation, but they announced shortly after that there will be a sequel. Okay, so I'm like, okay, I'll wait until it's released. So after the sequel, now we got another one. So I'm like, okay, I wait again. I get them eventually.
MR trying to future-proof his VNs.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt my backlog, okay?
Nope. Speaking of cat girls, one announcement that caught me by surprise was the Necopara remaster. Each game from the series are going to be re-released in HD and with new sprites. I'll be honest, I kind of don't see why the older games needed it. I mean, a remaster is, of course, a new release and that they could sell again and hopefully get more profits and stuff, but the original Necopara games still hold up. They still look great.
Yeah, that's sad. I'm sadly I'm
dated.
Absolutely not. I'm unfortunately going to have to go with the negative thinking mindset and say it's a cash grab.
Now,
the only other alternative I can see, and maybe the only excuse as a Necopara defender, I suppose, I need to mount counteroffensive. Maybe Volume 1 uses the most outdated emote system, unlike other entries in the series that have visible improvements. And whenever I replayed and reread the Necoparas, it shows that Volume 1 uses the old engine rather than the newer iterations. So maybe that one, but all of them, even including 4, it's like 4 years old.
Yeah,
Wow.
Necopara 4 released 2020.
That's weird.
And I mean, if it was for like maybe new content, new bonus routes, or something of that front, then it's like, okay, well, I could see why. Until they get released, I'm not really sure about what I'm expecting for them, though. I think they also announced that what was supposed to be a Necopara... Like, there's going to be a Necopara spin-off of 4. I'm not too familiar with the series, but I believe originally it was going to be DLC, but then it's kind of grown into its own thing now, so that will also be releasing planned 2025.
Apparently, the last entry in the series was planned to be a DLC, extension to the Volume 4. But due to script revisions, Sayori recently informed that, it grew so much and there was so many revisions, I decided to make it a separate entry.
Okay, that
Fair
sounds
enough.
super
Okay.
cool.
I mean, I'd rather that than botched release and trying to forcibly inject something into already existing title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't even know it was gonna originally be a DLC to Nicopara 4, which, I mean, given how F4 ended, you could kind of see it, but I just assumed it was gonna be its own thing to begin with. But I guess that's good to get confirmation.
Mm-hmm. And Sekai Project also had one more announcement of, I hope I pronounced this right, Akene Iro ni Somaru Saka. A title I didn't recognize. It looks like it is a high school VN involving a childhood friend, romance, and a drama. It looks interesting. It also looks very long. I haven't ever really heard about it before, so either that makes me one fake fan, or this is hopefully something that, one of those undiscovered gems that you never see from the untranslated side. So that's cool.
It's by Fong. The developer is called Fong FENG. Like they have like a decently big lineup, but they fortunately went bankrupt in 2019. So Akane no whatever the full name was, Akane Iro ni Somaru Saka's one of the many titles that Sekai got from them. So hopefully it's good. I don't know much about it otherwise.
Hooray! At the very least, it's salvaged from the depths of bankruptcy. But yeah, we'll see. And Sekai Project also had their own Q&A panel, right, Amar?
I
Oh,
did
wait.
not look into that one.
No, I don't think they did. They were the outliers. How dare they?
Oh yeah.
How dare they
I thought
withhold
you were
themselves?
texting me like, oh my god, did they? What the hell?
No.
I didn't know that.
The people have questions about Necopara that must be answered.
The deep lore, yeah.
Yes. But yes, then that means the other big VN publisher that made some announcements, Jast. And Jast went for quite a few more announcements than Manga Gamer and Sekai Project. A smattering of other lesser-known titles. I think the biggest one they've got is Daite Koku, an Alisoft sci-fi title from 2011.
And you went right into it. There was no build-up. And in my opinion, Just Panel was the masterclass of tackling a topic. Because unlike Manga Gamer, who was in a way dry and dull, they went guns blazing. They wanted to murder Steam and how it's very bad for VNs. Oh my god, I laughed so hard on this entire panel. And I'm back in my head, right? I'm thinking, man, I'm the Manga Gamer defender because they have Alisoft. And in that panel, they announced that they will be translated Daite Koku. And now I'm like, oh yeah, now just wins. They just win, okay?
Well, what? Are you that big a fan of something?
Of that title specifically, not necessarily. Of Alisoft, yes. That's what I said.
Okay.
I'm the on Manga Gamer. I buy all my things Alisoft. So going into this panel, I'm like, oh man, just does so much good in recent years. Their storefront is really good, really solid. They even had the summer sale just before the Anime Expo. Mad props to them. And on this panel, they announced a title from Alisoft. I'm like, okay, they got me. I'm just a defender, okay? I'm there.
What makes this interesting is that instead of Alisoft's other titles, Daite Koku is sci-fi, right?
From what I've looked into, yeah, I'm not admittedly too much of an Alisoft fan, but I'll have to admit the sci-fi aspect did interest me more than like their typical like a regular quote unquote regular fantasy settings that they tend to use most of the time. So I might look into it, but they said it's going to be at least a few years before it comes out, so we'll see how that turns out.
I mean, it shows that you both don't really engage with Alisoft titles because they really like to inject all manner of technology in supposedly fantasy setting. So if you expect a sword and sorcery kind of story, it may have some sort of magical alien spaceship just because they decided it works.
Robots.
But yes, at the very least, Daitekoku is properly set up as a sci-fi thing.
Another announcement was the Dead End Aegis fan disc, another record. Dead End Aegis is quite the series, isn't it, MR?
Yes, it's quite a series. Hooray! Finally, I can experience more of it. I can't wait. Hooray!
It's
But
very
for
dark.
those who like it, I get it. You get something cool. Okay, I get it. I wasn't one of those.
Well, you will be when you read the fan disc, baby.
Oh my god! Oh god!
Another title, Dreamlike Love with Seira, which looks to be more up of MR's alley. He is eating good at this panel.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Another insert title, insert character live with made in anime art style. Yeah. It's day one buy, I guess. I have to uphold the tradition. Fine. You got me there.
Yeah. However, okay, that's enough teasing. Jazz did announce a remaster of an old title called Critical Point. And this was probably one of the more interesting things I saw because I was never aware of Critical Point, the original 90s sci-fi title. I don't know too much about it, except that it is a mystery / action with many choices and multiple endings. But it looks very appealing to me. And I'm still somewhat debating if I want to read the original or wait for a remaster and read that instead, because a lot of the charm is always in the 90s art style of how they've got all the big poofy hair and the very striking heavy outline artwork. I always love that kind of style.
Yeah, unlike with Necopara, when I heard about that remaster, I looked into that and my initial impression was, yeah, I can see that needing a new coat of paint and remaster, even at the cost of the original charm and, art style. Fine. But I can see that. With Necopara, I'm like kind of confused. Why? Okay.
Yeah, usually with the Jazz remasters of their old titles, yeah, they try to fix. See, these are games that existed when when Windows 7 was like the newest thing, right? So with this, they want to it's probably going to be in some modern engine like Unity or something, so it can work on all the major operating systems like Windows, Linux, and Mac, and it can obviously when that includes 10 to 11. So people who want to read some old school stuff, when it releases, it'll be nice to experience that old school charm that Emma was talking about.
And from then on there's an announcement of Hanamaru 2, old title from 2009 involving a school with different kinds of species. So it's one of those Monster Girl kind of titles. For Bow Chicka Wow Wow.
What? It's weird because that announcement was about the sequel, not the original. And they didn't pick up the original? I don't know. I have no idea. My first reaction to that title was, who? What?
Yeah, I've definitely never heard of it. It seems like one of those smaller things. Which, hey, more VN translations? Huzzah.
Yeah, true.
Speaking of which, they also announced, what are they calling it? Cornelica?
Yeah.
Metallica?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which also seems to be an RPG Maker Bow Chicka Wow Wow game.
I have to say, the RPG Maker games don't tend to have the highest reputation, so it was quite a shocker to me that, yeah, that's one of the titles they chose. And you know what? If that's a promising title, with might I add, during the stream of their panel, one mad lad spotted that art style is done in part by the artist of Kobayashi Dragon Maid. It's okay. You know what? Maybe there's something to it, huh?
Uh-huh. I mean, the RPG lewd games get a bad rap simply because of how many there are. And you know that phrase when 90% of everything is
Yeah.
crap. And so if you see all the crap firsthand, then it's easy to dismiss it. But, you know, apparently from what the ratings show and from how successful it's been, Cornelica seems like a very good one. So yeah, all the more congrats to them. Hopefully it goes well for Just. But those are pretty much the biggest publishers and announcements for Anime Expo in the world of visual novels.
The entire panel of Just, I can't recommend enough all our listeners to go to Ange channel and listen to it, because it was just phenomenal. Their humor, I always think when it comes to their presence in social media or the Twitter, they have that charm to them, and in a kind of shitposty way, but they have good self-aware humor that I feel like, yeah, they are doing good work, and that panel proves it, because they went guns blazing on Steam, and it's ridiculous policies and inconsistent behavior, poking fun on it back and forth. Man, they even prepared a very shitposty take how would Muramasa 4Kids adaptation would look when prepared for storefronts such as Epic Game Store or Steam. Oh my, this was like pure perfection. I love their panel. It was so good.
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, they did. If you follow Jazz Twitter, their that panel at this year's AX was definitely similar. Yeah, like Mimar said, a very shit posty style, and I mean, yeah, Jazz and their social media in general is generally a lot sillier than most visual novel publishers, where they try to be quote unquote professional, kind of just sticking to just like playing. Okay, here's this announcement, here's this release date, here's this is on sale, and then like that's it. But Jazz, like they have fun with their even with a lot of their super old titles, so it's interesting.
Oh yeah, I love the Jazz Twitter. Although I do have to say, the only their main conveyance of their announcements at Jazz panel and whatnot was the Jazz Twitter guy taking pictures with his phone of the screen. And I'm like, come on, guys, tell me about these announcements. Give me some info about them. I am very happy that you guys are shit posters and you're very casual about it. Still, I want to see these cool things. Make it clearer, please.
And to be honest, preparation for this episode was hilarious. We go over all the announcements, and all the publishers have a very nice professional manga game, all the announcements perfect. And then you go to Justice, like, yeah, literally, the pictures from the phone of the laptop that was displaying panels from the slideshow. So hilarious.
Aye.
Oh god.
So huge thanks to Ange for getting to live stream some of these and getting that info himself.
Yeah, no problem. Although, unfortunately, I was unable to make it myself this year, but thankfully, my editor, the local weeb, he kind of apparently one of the CEO of Jast, I think, just kind of approached my editor because he's just gonna chill at AX, and then he's like, hey, the guy from Jast requested that I recorded, and then kind of like use your channel as a way to stream. Like, oh yeah, sure, and then we just set things up together and worked out, and hopefully people enjoyed it.
Oh wow, getting those direct professional connections, hurrah!
Yeah, it was funny. Before my editor kind of got that request, the guy from Jas, the main guy from Jas, kind of just DM'd me like, "Hey, so we're gonna be seeing you at AX?" Like, oh, sadly no. So I guess he really wanted their goofy anti-Steam goofy panel to be streamed in addition to all the announcements they had. So it sounds like it worked out.
Yeah, no, it would be such a letdown if that wasn't available online, because the panel was absolutely hilarious. And I have to say, even their Q&A section was amazing. They had a really cool questions there. Not every one of them have been explored to the full extent I would like, but they went through like 9-10 questions, and majority of them were pretty compelling. They were describing a current approach of a lot of VNs of cutting content in order to get on Steam. And yeah, just guys expressed their concern. Yeah, now it works. Yeah, but for how long? Now, I would like also them to talk more about the patches that restore content from situation they had with Shiny Days then also. But you know what, with the Steam was enough for one topic. But that also was something that was handled weirdly. They had a question about their relationship with other companies, and they turned it into a joke that, yeah, people tend to imagine that just runs the VN cartel that we all meet with cigars. I'm like, oh my god, you guys just... Oh, that's so silly. that was so cool. Someone even gave the question, why Daikoku and not the previous entries? Like, that's a legit question. Out of all the series of the titles connected, why this one? And their answer was as shitposty as it can be, because yeah, I want to have a game in space.
They wanted a game in space.
Yeah. The previous weren't, this one is.
It's as good of a reason as any.
Yeah, like, okay, but that kind of humor was, yeah, it was so good. They are definitely self-aware about it. Man.
All right, then that's
It
great.
is a blast. I recommend everybody to listen to that stream of that funnel because it was a blast.
Yeah, everyone check out Ange's streams on his channel and check out all of the sources as it happened. Thank you again for being part of this, Ange. Glad to have you on as guest to share some of your input about these.
Oh, yeah, of course. Always glad to talk about Anime Expo stuff.
It was a pleasure to talking with you, Ange, again. And thank you for all our listeners. VNture out.
VNture out.